supplies or something like that. Grandkids.
Hello there, Mr. Kennelly.
Hey, am I the only one?
Yes. Oh, we got somebody else coming in here. Let's see who that is. That's a phone call.
Who's coming in?
Phone call. I don't have no idea. It's a phone. No name.
In my head.
All right, now I'm gonna go to the other computer and get that one set up too. So I'll be back. If you need anything, holler.
My summer season.
On the other side. Right.
Can you hear me here, Matt?
I almost think.
Sure can.
Okay, good.
So they can appreciate, you know, somebody zooming in, what they need to get some substance out of it. Wait a few more minutes. Just because.
I wasn't expecting to have such a cultural.
Mission here.
Slow Matt.
Hello. On a big screen.
So Denise, I don't think this is the right speaker.
What?
You needed something that connects from here or something like that. So,
Oh, yeah.
you know, you better turn those.
I showed them what I had, what I needed, but I didn't take the speaker with me. She said, this is all you need.
Well, luckily today, all we need to do is hear Matt for a little bit. I've got this up on as loud as it can go.
So I need different speakers.
I need to think about what you need for a minute, and right now is not that moment. Okay.
Nothing is ever as simple as you think.
This is true. Okay, I can see Matt on the screen. I wish I could make you a little less. Okay, Wampus. That's a little better.
Here, I'm waiting to see if anyone else is. I haven't clicked the
Okay.
fans yet. And you're not eating, right?
No.
Okay.
Well, I'm not good.
I'll just put it here so you don't have to be a big talking head on the screen.
Can, but I can take your lunch money, otherwise I can throw it in here and get it later. Thank you. Well, everything should reconcile. I haven't found it out. but- Thank you.
President Denise, I think we're from lots to be ready to go whenever you're ready.
All right.
And if you stand in front of the thing, the world will be able to see you.
I don't know if I've ever had butter chicken sauce.
It's really good.
Is that loud enough? Everybody stands up. Okay, Bruce, would you join us in the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do?
Fellow Rotarians, please join me in the four-way test. Think, say, or do. First.
Is it the truth?
Second.
Is it fair to all concerned?
Third.
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
And fourth.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
And fifth.
Is it fun? Okay, Carrie, would you like to lead us in the flag salute?
Join me in the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag. The
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is there a thought for the day?
That's a good one.
Okay, so everybody can be seated. We have a pretty small turnout, so we'll try to keep things moving along quickly. First of all, next week we will be meeting on Zoom. And I wouldn't mind entertaining a little bit of conversation here if there's any objection to us meeting on Zoom throughout the month of September. Is there anyone in here that would object to that?
I don't object, I just-
Yeah, well, the COVID rates are pretty high, and also we need to think going forward. We've had 6 or 7 people purchase lunch each week. That's it. And if we're guaranteeing 10 or 15 lunches, and that means we're paying for them whether people are here or not. So that's going to be important as we consider coming out of virtual and going back in person, because it's hard on our budget.
For sure, I was noting though that these are not some other options. So,
Right, and Karen will be presenting those next week. So with that in mind, trying to think if there's any other, we will have an update next week on the fundraiser. We are working on a fundraiser for toward the end of this year, and it's a pretty fun one, and hoping we can get things moving on that. Are there any other announcements that need to be made today? Okay, I think with that, we're going to go ahead and turn it over to our speaker. Oh, wait a minute. We have Matt Kennelly joining us today, and Matt is with the Gateway Club. Matt, I didn't forget you. I'm sure you would have made sure of that.
Yeah, no worries. I was going with your lead. Yeah.
And Matt is here to tell us a little bit about brews, brats, and beer. No, bands, brews.
Bands, yeah. So
Bands, brews, and brats. That's happening
you.
on September 11th. So anyway, turn it over to Matt.
thank you very much. I'll make it quick, and thanks for accommodating me this way. So yeah, most of you know probably the annual Brats, Brews, and Bands Festival that Gateway puts on. It is Saturday, September 11th from 1 to 10 p.m. We've got 12 live bands, 5 food trucks, a wine garden. There'll be a cornhole set up, a tournament going on. Their tickets are $25, and with that ticket, you get 5 tastes of beer, the taster cup, and you see all the bands included in that ticket. And then you can buy whatever you'd like in addition from there. And because this nonprofit grant program, like Boys and Girls Club of Thurston County, for example, has been one of the recipients in the past. So all the money raised ends up going out to that part of that nonprofit grant program. Tickets are available online. It's over near the hub in Lacey, kind of that area. The Huntermer Park area, everything will be all fenced in. So it'll be outside, lots of space. When we originally planned this, we tried to at least anticipate trying to get as much space as possible outside. So although COVID numbers are up, hopefully that everybody can, space out to their comfort if you feel comfortable going. So encourage you to come and attend, and we appreciate it. And we're just getting out to different clubs and making the announcement. So thanks for allowing me to do that today.
You said this was September 11th, from what time to what time?
1 o'clock to 10 o'clock p.m.
It was a lot of fun. I was there the last 2 years. And a lot of fun. So I'm glad you guys are finding an opportunity to do it again.
Good. Well, thank you. Any other questions before I sign off then?
Really appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. And I'll let you get on with your meeting.
All right. take
Thanks,
care.
Matt. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Can everybody hear okay? Great. Okay. Our speaker today is Becky Powell. And Becky works as the what's the official title? Executive assistant, so superintendent of the Tumwater School. And Sean Dotson, who we met a while back, it's been a while, COVID. And Becky worked with Special Services Director, and then in 2019, she became the McKinney-Vento and Foster Care Liaison, and we're going to hear all about that today. And we've heard about McKinney-Vento before, but she's going to refresh our memories so that it's up front. And then in March, she started her current task being the official assistant to the superintendent. And she's also the coordinator for the McKinney-Vento program in the Tumwater schools. So I'd like to, and she's had this job just a few months, and so it's wonderful that you've been able to join us. And so at this time, please join me in a Rotary welcome for Becky Powell.
As you're going through stuff, I can switch your slides for you.
Okay. So just stand up here.
Stand anywhere between here to here. We got you.
Okay. All right.
Perfect.
So the first slide. Do you want me to change it? Okay. This is just a summary of the McKinney-Vento Act. It was signed into law by President Ronald Reagan in 1987 and has been reauthorized several times over the years. It originally had 15 programs providing a spectrum of services to the homeless, mostly dealing with housing. It wasn't until years later when an Illinois attorney drafted an amendment that the act offered any protection to homeless children in the area of education. The act requires that each school district across the United States have a liaison to help remove barriers to attendance for students that qualify as homeless. In my previous role, I was the liaison. I'm now the coordinator, but we do have a liaison. Her name is Sarah Smith, and she works directly with the counselors at the schools to identify our McKinney-Vento students. For example, some of the barriers we remove are transportation to and from school, even if the family is outside of the district school attendance zone. And in that situation, we would share. So for an example, if the student is going to a Tumwater school but lives in Shelton, we would share that transportation with Shelton. They would provide at the AM or PM route, and we would provide the other. We also provide free breakfast and lunch through the meal program. And they are able to enroll with, even if they lack the required immunization records or proof of residency, that we do not deny enrollment if those are missing. And they get the chance to participate in school activities, whether before, during, or after, just as any house student would. Okay. So who is considered homeless? The McKinney-Vento Act considers a student homeless if they are individuals that lack a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence, such as children sharing housing due to economic hardship or loss of housing. This is referred to as doubled up. It's our most common situation. children living in motels, hotels, trailer parks, or campgrounds due to the lack of alternative accommodations, and children living in emergency or transitional shelters. Sorry. So here is some data that's specific to our school district. I could see the last time Tammy was here, she went up to 2015, 2016 school year. So I've just provided some numbers after that. As you can see, the number of students we served from 2016 to 2019, the totals by year are over in the corner. Sorry, it's kind of hard to see. Kept going up pretty, they increased every year. When we had to close our schools in March of 2020, you can kind of see that it was harder for us to reach our homeless families. So that leads me to believe that's the reason why our numbers dropped. And then this year, we've served substantially less students, homeless students. You can see that 111 this school year. I think that coming back this school year to a 5-day week, we're going to see that number increase by quite a lot. I think families have been affected by COVID, so we're going to probably see a lot more families doubled up together. Just a lot of different situations because of the pandemic. It'll be easier to reach these families at that point, you know, when we can see them face to face and we can listen to the kids talk about their situations and things like that, just things that we look for. Okay, and next. So how we help, we have the Student Assistance Fund. That's a donation-based fund that we have to support our students. That covers costs of class fees, field trips, book fines, testing, life-saving prescriptions, hearing aids, hygiene items, laundry detergent and laundry services, and so much more. And we have 2 clothing banks. One of them accepts gently used clothing, and we have a parent volunteer who gets all of these clothes and she washes them, and she has 2 great giveaways every year. We're really excited to get back to that. She has a lot of clothes, you know, so just from the time we shut down, she's been collecting and collecting still. So we probably have like triple the amount we would normally have. So that would be our first giveaways in September. I can't remember what day it is, but it'll be at Michael T. Simmons. It's a Saturday. I can get you that information if you'd like that. And then the second clothing bank, is specifically for our McKinney-Vento students, and that is donations of brand new clothing and shoes and coats. And that is, we disperse that to the schools now. We used to have a closet at the district office. We felt like that was really hard for parents and families to come to a strange place. So now we have, in every school, we have a clothing closet. So that families can, you know, try on clothes and grab clothes if they need it in a comfortable place. And they know the staff there. They don't know us. So we thought it was just kind of not very welcoming. So we've moved those out to our schools. In each November and December, the district works with the Tumwater Lions Club to provide holiday assistance to families and students in Tumwater schools. We usually serve, last year was quite a bit less, but we usually serve about 500 students. I don't have the numbers from last year. I wasn't a part of it, so I would kind of have to do some digging. And then we just had our annual Stuff the Bus event. We didn't get to have it last year, so we were very excited this year that we could have that. We ended up going out to more stores. So we had a bus at the Safeway on Trosper. We had a bus at Tumwater Middle School. We had vans at Walmart and Fred Meyer. between that event and the Little Red Schoolhouse supply drive, we have enough supplies to fill this year 700 backpacks to deliver to our schools. So we obviously have a very generous and supportive community that works very closely with us to make sure our students are taken care of and supported. Okay,
Can I ask a question?
sure.
Is the student assistance fund, is that the principal's fund or?
No, that's
Okay.
something separate.
Just curious.
Yes, yeah. They donate to the student assistance fund. Yeah. How people can help is donations of gently used or brand new clothing, shoes and coats, donations of school supplies, donations of time for Stuff the Bus, just various events in our district. The clothing giveaway, I know that one parent, and she has some volunteers, but every time I go there, it's like she's running around as fast as she can and helping people. But and then the other way is monetary donation to our student assistance fund. It just supplies a lot of things for our students. We do have access to grants through the state, but they often come with many limitations on how we can spend that money. The Student Assistance Fund is definitely, it allows us to use the money as needed and be prepared for situations that we can't predict. Like McKinney Vento student being legally deaf with no hearing aid because the family cannot even afford a roof over their heads, let alone expensive medical device. So those are the types of things we can just, gives us more freedom on how to spend the money through the private purpose fund. Okay, that's all I have on my slides, but does anyone have any questions?
Principal's fund.
Yes.
I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit about what the plans are for this fall and when it'll be held, et cetera.
Yes, so that will be October 21st. It'll be at 7 a.m. at Black Hills High School. So we're back to, we didn't get to do it last year, but we are going to attempt to do that again this year. I've never been involved with the project before. I am a guest on their board. So I try to, go to those meetings as much as I can. Unfortunately, a lot of them fall on my school board meetings that I have to attend to. So I know that they're working hard in getting that planned and that we help with printing and things like that.
Is it possible, I don't know who in our club is on the list to receive information about that. So is it Teresa?
Okay,
So Teresa Parsons.
Okay. all right, that sounds good. I did pass out the costs that we used this year. The breakdown is way different than what we've had in the past. We did have we had quite a bit of donations. Most of our donations went to child care assistance. And that was to Boys and Girls Club. That was to Parks and Rec and the Y. So we did a lot of those scholarships this year for our families. And, that was $18,000 this year. That was a lot of good help that went to families that couldn't afford all of the child care that was needed with the shutdown. So.
Have you found that obviously there's a greater disconnect
Mhm.
between the district and the students that need help, and then they're hidden during COVID,
Right.
because unless you saw them on screen, you didn't see them at all.
Right.
So what is the school district doing any good examples of how you're reaching out, trying to reach those individuals?
Yes, well, our counselors did a lot of home visits, principals, admin, anyone that was available was doing home visits. We also partnered with Together in their community schools program. So we have 5 community school managers that also are assigned to schools. And they would do outreach and grocery delivery and just working with students to make sure they have their technology. We did also provide about 200 hotspots for families that didn't have internet and couldn't connect. So those are some of the things that we did for outreach. I know our school staff was very visible during the shutdown. So
Very busy.
yes, very busy. Yes, yeah.
I have relatives who are teachers and their students that just disappear
Mhm.
and struggle to know whether they're okay or where they're at. I'm presuming that there's concern for that in the Tumwater district too. Have you seen, I mean, the numbers are lower, so does that
Right.
reflect that those are students you haven't been able to reach back out to, or?
Right, and
You know
you
what
know,
happens.
highly mobile community, our homeless families are highly mobile, and always don't have a working phone. So if they're not at the last address that we have, we do reach out to area school districts to see if the student has enrolled with them, or, you know, we had one family that was living in their car, that we finally tracked down. So it just took a lot of research and like detective work, and, you know, some people, you know, the school, the counselors and the principals, they're very familiar with their families. Most of the time they know what vehicle they drive. So it just was a lot of just, you know, making sure that we were doing all the research that we needed to do to find those families.
And did you get enough tech support? Computers and other equipment that they needed, obviously, if they're in a car. Makes
Right.
it difficult.
Right.
Just wondering how that is.
So
addressed.
usually in that situation, they would drive to a library and access their Wi-Fi, or drive to the school parking lot and access their Wi-Fi. So if they couldn't, then that was also something that we had, they were just computer hours at the schools also, to where the students could come and access the computers in the cafeteria, even though we weren't open. So we would have those hours at each school, so. Yes, yeah, and, oh, the kids craved it, so.
And you were able to get enough laptops and things to help them? I mean, I'm sure there's quite a gap there.
There was, just for elementary school, our middle and high schools are all one-to-ones. That means each student has a Chromebook. So that was in place before COVID. So we did have to work on making sure that all of our elementary school students had the technology they needed. But we did get technology grants and things like that. I'm not sure how many, but that was available.
So this is like clubs, all the kids' clubs, so I know they couldn't technically meet, were they able to get together at all? Because I know that's really part of the social life and school.
They weren't, initially. The next school year, when we went back to hybrid, so when we shut down in March of 2020, there was nothing happening except school, and trying to figure that out. They did, you know, we did get guidance, and we just had to follow the DOH requirements on what we could and couldn't do, how close they could be, and we just used that guidance and followed those rules for that. So they did a little bit. They were doing some sports. I mean, everything looked way different, but the kids, they didn't care. They were gonna participate no matter what. So, yeah,
And you guys intend to be fully open this fall?
yes, that is our
Even
intention.
with the rates on there.
Yep, 5 days a week, all day.
Now,
Yes.
through your group, are you guys doing anything to help with the vaccine requirement for this homeless population of children?
We
Support.
have, we haven't talked about it yet. I know our head nurse is meeting with the superintendent today at 2:30. They're going to talk about the requirements and the collection of that information. So they'll talk about that. So not sure how that looks yet. We've had quite a few clinics for staff, so I'm sure that we will have clinics for our students also. It is. We have a lot of work to do, but
And what's the first day of school?
well, it is September 8th for middle school and high school. And this year, we're starting our elementary, which is pre-K through 5th on September 13th. Last year, we used the first 3 days of school as Strong Start conferences. And that was individualized conferences for families. It wasn't an open house. It was a set time for 45 minutes for each family to come in and speak with the teacher and let them know where their student was emotionally, academically. Our families loved it. So we did get a waiver to reduce our school days this year by 3, so that we could have those Strong Start conferences, and families are really excited about it. It went really well last year. They loved it. So I think that after all of this, families just want to be heard, make sure that the staff know where their student is and how they can help them the most. So the days.
Well, Rotary is here, you know, if
Mhm.
as things progress now that you've gotten to meet some of us. We hope that you'll keep us in mind, keep us informed as things as the year progresses.
Definitely.
I'm sure there'll be new challenges.
Yes. Every day is something new. Yeah, every day. Something new is happening for sure.
Any other questions for Becky?
Yep. Good one.
It's off topic, but you're also working for the board.
Yes.
Board. So, are they going, is the school going to supply instant tests? See if somebody's coughing.
We are talking about rapid testing. Yes, so we just don't know how that will look. I think that that's one of the topics that our district nurse and superintendent will be talking about today. He came to me this morning and mentioned that, and so I added it to their list of 1 million things to talk about today. So hopefully, we don't know how that would look, but I'm hoping we can do something. We do have testing through ESD. That's just drive-through testing. And I don't believe it's rapid testing, but that is free to our parents and students in the district. So there is free testing through that, but I don't think it's rapid. So we're talking about that.
And individuals meant to the school, are you guys having closed campuses for, you know, other than parents and children are, like our advisor for a Rotary Club coming and the kids are having a meeting, are those types of visits being allowed and scrutinized, or how is that going to be?
I believe so, if proof of vaccination can be presented. I'm not exactly sure. I think new guidance about volunteers has come out again. I don't think that our communications director has looked at that yet. We definitely want volunteers and need volunteers, but we just kind of have to look at how that's gonna look this year. Yeah. Because it's important.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
There's times that
Yeah.
I've gone in Black Hills to speak with the principal and you're able to just walk in, and I'm just wondering if they're going to allow that.
We can have visitor, like at our district office, we have visitors now, so everyone definitely has to be masked. And now employees have to provide the proof of vaccination. So
Have you seen a big problem with that since the announcement? Has there been a lot of kickback?
kind of 50-50. Yeah. more than I hoped, but I understand it. So we'll see. I think that our staff really just wants to keep our kids safe, so I'm sure that we won't have too many problems with it.
Deadline for that's October, right?
What's that?
The deadline for that's October.
Yes, yeah. So coming up quick, it'll happen quick, but yes.
So if they still refuse, then you get in.
Oh, I'm not sure how Human Resources is gonna handle that. I'm sure we have a list of substitutes. We also, right now are in the middle of a budget crisis also. So we have all of these things going on. But I'm not sure how they'll handle that. I know that you can provide a medical and religious exemption. So hopefully that helps a lot of our staff.
Well, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
This is great. There's a lot of information. Okay, let's see how we're doing. It's about 1:45. Our programs for September. As I mentioned, well, we'll have our board meeting.
And that also, was also.
All Zoom. Everything in September will be on Zoom. That way we can reassess and Karen, you had provided an update. Did you want to make any announcements about the facilities? Or do you want to wait till next week?
No, I can do it. Well, I can do it now. We can talk then. I had set up, but I can move it easily. If September, we would go to Nelson Mills. They do not have a room to be. That's wonderful. And they're working with Jean-Pierre's 16, whatever it's called, to see if they can work a meal for $15. Don't have a back. I don't have anything back on that. And then I had set up for October to go to Newmarket. They do have a room fee, but they can figure our lunch to $12 to $15. Basically, we go back to the room we always were in. Other than that, and they all have a place, or can find a place to store a cabinet, so we don't have to worry about that. Oh, and I believe, now I'm not, this isn't written in stone, but I believe they will have facilities for our playground. So we may not have to bring them, but that was not clarified in my hand.
Well, and the minimum may be,
That's
because
another thing we
because
haven't.
we, on an average, we have 7 or 8 people each week that are purchasing meals.
Mhm.
And by Gayla, I want to thank you for coming today.
Here's your list of everybody that's here.
And did you want me to copy down that attendance sheet?
Oh, I have all 4 of them, so I'll have to write it up and I'll get it over to you before, right away.
4.
Every week I keep a separate envelope with the money in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, so, but it guarantee of the meals, I mean, we have
Yeah.
7 or 8 period. So if we
Yeah.
guarantee 10, we'll be paying for 10.
Well,
And
I see that is another thing. I'm not sure, and I'm not sure if the $20 versus the $15 will make a huge difference. I'm not even sure if anybody's going to, we're going to get more additional people until COVID is on the land. So I don't know. It's just, and I know we'll have to guarantee a minimum. I have no idea.
All right.
We haven't.
So that's something for you guys to think about for next week, because
What I can do
talk
is I
about.
will send that out to everybody and then we'll be able to talk next week. So everybody has all the information.
Take it off, Becky.
I am.
Well, thank you
But
for
thank you for
coming.
having me.
You bet. We'll give our
And
best to
Sean
Sean.
will be here soon.
Yes, I
Yes.
think it's September 14th.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
All
thanks
right.
again.
Thank you,
Take care.
everyone.
Thank
you. Bye.
The cabinet is sitting at my place and it needs a lock. I don't know if anyone wants to take that on. That has been lower on the priority list because still working on the tech. And so I'm thinking about asking Leila if we can put the empty cabinet over at their shop, just because it's more accessible from there to take whenever we need.
It's empty.
Yes, because it fell out of the truck.
No, I
and- yeah.
understand that, I understand that. So then, I'm sorry. I've got this in my head, so then why do we need it if we're holding meetings?
Flags
Okay, the flags.
and the sound system
Okay,
and the projector.
well, what I'm saying
and our
is, do
laptop.
we need that big account?
Well, that's been my question all along.
Yeah.
It's heavy. It takes 3 guys in the truck to move.
Yeah, maybe that's something we can bring up, I don't know, because the flags, the poles come apart, the state and the Canadian flag, we do have to have a Canadian flag, but I know both places have flags, they can have the Canadian flag, obviously. It's nice to have the banners, but those roll up, and they roll up.
And security for stuff. I
Well, you
mean,
have
that
to
was
lock
the
it,
thing
yeah.
here. I didn't want to ask Krishida to be responsible for our equipment,
Oh, no.
you
no, I
know, if
understand
it's
that.
not locked. And if we're moving every month, I just figured just because the cabinet is big and lurky, and I really don't have a good place for it and moving
No.
it in the middle of winter. So I thought if we move the cabinet for now, move the cabinet back over to Leela's warehouse, over to their warehouse, because there's room for it there. And it doesn't take up much room. It's empty. And everything that we've used on a regular basis fits in that box, plus those. The little box, cardboard box that's behind there. And so it's the flags that take up, and the bases are on the heavier side. And if we go with a plastic roller cabinet, which I favor, I like those, but you can't lock them. And so it's difficult to leave any, like the cash for our weekly drawings and things like that. It's just a matter of deciding
So
where
we
we're going to
can find
place
a
them.
smaller locking cabinet that'll work for, probably the biggest thing we have is that banner, which is the width. I mean, it's not the banner itself, it's the width.
And I have another box just like that at home that's full of the other items, which is stuff we probably will never use. There's a whole bunch of
Why don't you
4-way
bring it
test
next week?
certificates. and
Bring it
stuff.
next week and I'll take it as second.
Okay.
Probably.
And I think it too, I'm just gonna ask all of you to think about this, is whoever keeps this, it's a good idea to have an inventory. An inventory of what's in there. There are a lot of banners that people presented to us from other clubs.
Yeah,
There's a lot of stuff in there. I mean, I must have 8 or 10 receipt books. Everyone's been started, but none of them have been finished. And so consolidating this down, we basically have 2 cardboard boxes and those.
excellent. Well, bring me that stuff and I'll go through it and probably chuck 9/10 of it, but.
Yeah. And I think there's 1 yellow t-shirt, gold t-shirt. I don't know where that came from. And 3 boxes of Girl Scout cookies
Oh.
and a whole bag of Mills and Mills pens. So there's
Awesome.
a whole bunch of stuff in there. So they're all, I have it all inventoried in them. I think we need a master list somewhere, just writing it where it is and who has it. I think it'd be a good idea.
Right.
And then Dan has been helping us with tech, but while Dan is here, I know that it was suggested we try and see if you would give us a tutorial. And of course, now we're going into Zoom. But what's your feeling on the hybrid, doing hybrid?
Well, if we're getting one person per meeting, I don't think it's worth it. Takes a half an hour to set up. It's a lot of equipment, try and maintain and keep updated. Like we were just talking about, if we need to order a subscription for Microsoft, that's $100 a year for one person a meeting. I don't know if it's worth it. That's kind of my feel. We start getting more people showing up, either hybrid or taking advantage of that hybrid opportunity, or showing up here, then maybe we don't need it. It's a good option to have, but literally today, if Matt Kennelly wasn't chiming in, I don't know who that was on the phone. It might have been Bob.
Probably Bob.
But I know the last couple of weeks I try to interact with people to get questions. There's no interaction, so I don't even know if there's they're
Right.
They don't pay any attention to
they're
the
there.
chat.
right, and their videos are all up too, so it's like,
Oh,
are you
yeah.
there? You're not there? Because then when I'm chatting, it's like I'm not getting any responses. So, again, we
And
could do it another month. Obviously, next month we're going to be on Zoom, but we could do it another month and get a flavor for it. But if it continues with that level of participation, I don't know if it's worth it.
well, and I'm gonna throw in that Teresa, from the time she gets out of her office chair and walks to the other end of the building and gets in her truck and comes here and gets into the meeting, she's lost a full hour of work. And her boss is not one who's, I won't say he's anti-Rotary, but she has a job, and that job is where she needs. So a lot of times she's indicated she would rather Zoom in because then she can continue working. We're gonna lose Mike Andrews too, because I noticed Mike hasn't been zooming in, but he'll probably zoom in next week. Joe and some of the others. So I'm gonna really ask you guys, and I've talked to a couple of other club presidents who are having the same issue with hybrid. And that the people that are out there in the internet land don't have the same experience that we have being here. And there's less connection and interaction. So I want to ask you, our group is small and we have probably 12 or 13. There are 20 or 21 paying members. But this has been pretty much the number every week. And so basically a third are coming and the rest aren't. And can we afford to do that when we're a small club? I don't know if anybody has an answer to that, but Zoom would be the only other option. And of course, then we're not seeing each other. So we'd have to figure out a way to do events where we could see each other.
I have a comment. The Lacey Club has 70 members now, which, you know, it's down considerably, but I went there last week and one other time recently. And they have the Zoom set up and they'll have maybe 4 or 5. So she's right about, you know, Zoom doesn't capture that many, but one advantage is you're taping it.
Yeah.
You know, so if somebody says, oh, I really wanted to hear that speaker or whatever, you'd have that resource. Or if you wanted to show that resource to a potential member and say, you know, here's what our meetings are like, and here's the quality, you know, what.
Yeah, right.
So there are some advantages, I think, to keeping it. I mean, it is tough, but things are so unpredictable right now. It's very, very hard to know. I mean, everybody might decide to stay home next week if we got some terrible news. So, and you know, the district is still gonna pay for Zoom for the rest of the year, for the rest of this year. So at least
The rest of the
calendar year.
Yeah.
So you have that resource.
Yeah, so the way we can make this work though, we definitely are always gonna need 2 laptops.
Yeah.
I know Denise has hers, I've been using mine. We have this whole setup for the Zoom connecting here.
Does it have to be a newer one? Because we've got.
If you can get on laptop, if you can get on Zoom, then that's all you need to be able to do.
We just, the one that goes out on the internet needs to be one that can be secured. The other ones don't.
So, you know, for the Zoom that, you know, for the second computer, because whatever we do here, this one's a Tumwater Rotary account that will broadcast whatever's happening here. And then we need to actually manage the room off of the district's account. Okay, that's what happens on whoever's bringing that laptop. So just like you did previously.
Definitely need class.
I thought this was a good setup, by the way. Our club has a different setup. It's not this nice.
No.
So everybody's still kind of struggling with how to set their equipment.
Well, and we still haven't figured out the, well, I think he'll have it all figured out. You know, the wire I was supposed to have to hook up the sound, because we would have been able to hear Matt Kennelly better if we had the cable.
Oh, yeah, so.
And I was told, just walk in, they'll know what it is. I went in and I said, and she says, that one. And I said, are you sure that's the only one that's that
That plugs
one?
into here, but
And
it
it
doesn't,
wasn't that one.
that plugs into here, it doesn't plug into here.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, in other words, you don't know what you don't know, even if you ask, so.
Because they're all different, you know, like Lacey's has such a big room,
Yeah.
you don't get a good view on the screen of the people that are on
You
Zoom.
get the program, but you don't. get
Yeah,
the people.
yeah, and the people in the room look like teeny weeny, you know, on one little screen.
Yeah.
And so that's poor, and then ours, we don't even. have a screen. So we're using 2 computers. So, you know, we're at a person's house because we're a small group, you know. Still have trouble seeing.
Yeah.
And one thing we need, I'm presuming we have a screen at Mills Mills, and I'm presuming we'd have a pull down screen at, yeah. So that's just something to keep in mind. I'm not anti-meeting in person. I just, the bill for the food and the guaranteeing the room
To kill
is
it.
very different than what we brought in.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure Gayla will bring that up next week. And I don't blame the food service people because they're having a really hard time. All the costs are higher.
Oh,
Shipping
yeah.
is tremendously more expensive. Getting staff that are dependable and do well, and you don't want just anyone. Yeah, you know, and so there are a lot of variables in keeping the lights on. So no matter what, I think we're just going to have to look at how difficult it is. This isn't, I mean, everything's different.
Oh.
And then real quickly, because Bruce, I don't think you were here last week, we talked about the fundraiser, and, oh, you had something?
I just remembered when you said fundraiser. Janice has, is willing to help out with the poinsettias, not run it.
Yeah.
Because we'll need 3 people to run it, just, and, but anyway, with the poinsettias and stuff. So anyway, she's on board with that and she was very excited and she will be here. Well, actually, she was gonna be here on the 1st, but since we're zooming on next
Yeah.
month, she will be here next. She's,
Is she going to zoom in with us?
I
next
doubt
week?
it. She hates Zoom.
Oh,
But she's moving. She sold her house and she's moving, but she'll be in the area because she will be coming back to the club. She was
Great.
very excited about coming back. I'm very excited that we still want to do poinsettias and.
Wonderful.
Which I stepped on. I just kind of said, yes, we would.
yeah. Well, and some of you were here last week. We're talking to the 9 fun or major microbreweries in the area. And we're going to put together beer baskets. And we're going to offer one product from each of the microbrews, and there'll be either I'm going to suggest a 6-pack and a 10-pack, but we'll discuss that further when I get it all written out, because I have to give you the pricing. Where we would sell the gift pack for 50 or 55 for a 6-pack, and maybe we offer a larger one. And that would be an assortment, and the individual does not get to pick the exact product, but there'll be one product from Well Lady and one from Triceratops and one from Matchless, and there'll be one of their top sellers. And then we'll also work with cider. So it'll be cider and beer, and it'll be a gift pack that you can purchase for Christmas. And I went online and looked, there's some really neat baskets, and most of them are priced 75 and above. So we'd be a pretty good deal. We need to find a receptacle for them. And that is, like, Leela seemed excited last week looking online. So hoping there'll be some ideas for that, for some type of receptacle. And then we would offer maybe 1 or 2 other munchie type products or something to sell with those. I got a kick out of one because it's called Row Pack. I mean, they come up with some pretty cute ideas. So hoping you guys can be thinking about that, because that will be on, hopefully we'll have a chance to touch base on it next week. And that would be offered in conjunction with the poinsettia sale.
Is there anything that you want help with on any of those?
There will come a time. Right now, it's reaching out to the microbreweries. The biggest deal right now is getting the microbreweries pinned down, and this is hop. They're in the middle of getting their hops and harvest, and this is a really bad time to talk to them. Rob Triceratops was knee deep in that, but he did get back to me last night. So it's just taking a while to pin them down. So yes, there will be, and we'll probably divide the breweries up and go out. We've identified what the product should be, and I have the names of the microbreweries. And they're more than willing, but not all of them are going to be as outgoing as Rob. And so we need to make sure we are tenacious in reaching out to them. So I'm trying to think if there's anything I can't, there's probably things I've overlooked, but if you guys could make sure you attend next week and get people excited to zoom in, have a good board meeting. So any other questions? Glad you're here, Ron.
The Zoom meeting is tough for me.
Yeah.
And the reason being is I sit in that chair 12 to 14 hours a day.
Yeah.
And I would rather go out and get my lunch and relax and do something instead of sitting in that chair another hour.
Mhm.
And so I don't have an out to go somewhere other than my office. And so Zoom meetings are not high priority for me,
Yeah.
especially at lunchtime. So that's why you probably noticed I try to make it every time, but if something better comes up, I go, because I don't want to sit there another hour.
Do you have any suggestions, given our dilemma we have with
I
this?
have no, I mean, if I had one, I'd be, is there anything I could do to, you know? I don't.
Yeah.
So we have, David Brooks used to be in this club, anybody remember him? So
Yeah.
he has been voting. So a couple of times, he's been on his phone, on his boat somewhere, and coming in on Zoom, which I just think is the funniest. But anyway, you could be
Yeah,
out and on
that's-
your phone, so that's a thought.
So I have this, I have kind of a similar struggle in my office because my office is also the main office. So when I'm zooming in, there's my staff coming and going and can we do this and should I have that? And so I'm literally working while we're zooming. So half the time I'm like, there's no partition in my office that sets me aside from what's happening, which is a lot of why for me, being able to come to the meeting allows me to be a little bit more in tune with what's actually happening.
Right.
And a question too, I mean, in the last couple of months of zooming, the attendance level wasn't super great either.
It's about 12 or 13. It's higher than it is in here.
Well, but we're also new back to zip to being in, so I would be more in favor of trying to do hybrid still, just to try to get us together, but only, it's kind of similar for me, it's just hard, but I'm almost out of my season, so some of that distraction isn't gonna be as big of a deal. And
August was always, you know,
Well,
meeting
summertime
on
was
Zoom
fun.
and I'm meeting hybrid in August, as I thought in hindsight. But I don't know, with the rate's so high, we probably would have ended up back on Zoom no matter what, but August is always historically a very slow month for us for attendance, because people are traveling and
Can't
doing
be
things.
going anywhere, so.
Yeah.
These
I-
problems aren't the same in all the
Oh.
clubs, just so you know.
Yeah.
Everybody is having the same conversations, tough decision.
I think it would be fun if we had a September picnic on this part.
It'd be good to
To
do.
have, just to get people together and, you know,
Yeah.
they can choose to wear masks or, well, I don't know what you rules.
outside,
Outside, yeah,
outside.
outside, yeah.
then it's.
Just bring a sack lunch, everybody brings. a
Yeah,
lunch.
bring it on.
But we have speakers, so we wouldn't be able to do it. I mean, it's gonna be difficult
We could do a
logistically
board
with their
meeting there.
speakers.
That's gotta be the most boring meeting. God
I
ever
think.
created. I prefer them on their own.
But there's
no,
also
we couldn't
decisions that are made at the board meeting that I worry
That
about
are board-
losing
that
Mike
are
and some of
board
that.
decisions, that's why it's called a board meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Well,
but you
They're
get to
not
put
called
your
a
input
club
in,
meeting.
when you put your input in, when you're happy about something or unhappy about something, let people know, because it.
They can do that.
I'm
They
just
can get
worried
all
about
the
the
board
people
members.
that only Zoom in. I don't wanna lose them, guys. We have such a small club, and that's really my big worry. Teresa, Mike Andrews, there's 2 or 3 others that Zoom in and they haven't been able to come. It's just, and things are crazy at the count where Teresa works. So I mean, there's just so many demands.
yeah, I mean, I'd say we just do it through the end of the year. We kind of reevaluate in December and see if it's worth continuing. I mean, if we're still at 1 or no participants, then, you know, it's not worth it. But if,
So what's your proposal?
If Teresa, my
Do it
proposal is
through the
do it through the end of the year, the hybrid meetings, and
Yeah.
if it still is not necessarily well attended and on hybrid, then we'll cancel it. And we'll say, show up if you want to come to the meeting.
I agree with Dan.
Or give the members an alternative or whatever it's called.
Who's the
Say,
alternative?
if we don't get 6 people at least doing this, then we're gonna quit it.
Mhm.
So the people that want it better start getting on there.
So yeah, we're gonna be hybrid next month through September, or Zoom through September straight only, and then we'll kind of reconvene in October, and then we'll kind of give it 2 months and we'll see how it goes. October,
Yeah.
November, December. It's
And
3 months.
hopefully the rates go down so that we don't have to worry. It's pretty scary when people my age are getting it and like I
Oh,
said, 2 of them have
COVID
been
rates.
vaccinated, COVID.
Yeah,
And so it's just the
hasn't
rates
seen-
are so high that I don't blame some people for staying away if
oh, I don't know.
they're
Thurston County
compromised.
hasn't seen COVID this hard, even through
No.
the entirety of last year
Yeah.
that we're seeing right now. And it's scary out there. I mean, we, at the city, we've got 3 people in different departments, now have been hit. And we're gonna lock things down because we can't, if I was to lose, 50% of my utility team, and who's out there turning on your water or something, you know what I mean, taking care of those things. And so it's like, we've got communities to care for. So we're seeing those impacts.
And it's
Why do
severe.
that?
Our friend, and you probably know Chris Hart, don't you, from Rainier? Yeah, she had COVID and she spent a week and a half in the hospital. She's my age. She's outdoors, horse person, on the go all the time. And
Is she
she's,
vaccinated?
she's the one that I'm not sure whether she was or not, but she ended up with blood clots and pneumonia and she said it was hell. So I mean, it's just
Oh,
not
yeah.
something, but I had 2 other friends, both of whom work for Spooners and they got it in spite of the fact that they had J&J. So I don't know what difference that was,
Was
but
it really sick or just,
she said they had it pretty bad. She said she had it worse than her husband
did they
did.
go to the hospital?
No.
Okay, see.
So that's the difference, but still, I don't want
Anyway,
it.
yeah, no, I don't either.
So, and I hope you guys will take a moment. And then if you have items for the board meeting next week, please let me know. Our programs are scheduled through the end of October, and I'll get that list out to you guys. I have distributed a list, but we'll get it back out to you. We're going to have a membership strategy session on September 22nd, featuring Jan and, well, I don't think you'll be the main speaker. Corey Leparty is joining us, and hopefully you'll be able to.
I'm gonna be in attendance, but I don't plan on speaking. I'll just be here for moral support.
And there'll be a third person, I think.
No, you know-
Yeah, the district has a membership share, so I think she's planning on it.
Don't forget to include our membership chair.
Well, of course, she's not here today. I hope to talk to her.
No,
anyway
she's in
about the calendar.
Kalamazoo.
Yes. So,
I
but
love that
yes,
word.
we'll have that membership strategy session, and then we have Sean Dodson coming in, and September 8th, we have BHR coming in, Behavioral Health Service. And we haven't heard from them in a couple of years, and they're going to come in and talk about what's going on, all the changes that have taken place and the demands on their system. And they have a fundraiser later in September, so they're going to be talking about that. So that will be September 8th. So stay tuned for that schedule, and thanks you guys for coming. Appreciate it. Meeting adjourned.
Thanks, everybody. See you next time.
So